Okay, we're going.
We're making moves already?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thank you for watching the very first ever, for lack of a better term, live online training. This is an idea that Chris and I came up with. It was pretty much when Dan from Guitar Wood Experts was here. We had opened up the shop. You could come and hang out with Dan, or we were going to do it live. And there were a few people that came to the shop, but there were 800 people that watched it live. So it was sort of a no-brainer, and finally the light bulb clicked for us. And it was one of those deals where, well, let's just start offering classes live. Now, why would we do that, Chris?
Why would we offer classes live?
Yes, so that
because
people
not
didn't have to
everybody
leave
can
their
come
Yes.
to one of our regular classes.
That's
so
right.
People have been asking, you guys should do this, and I think we finally figured out how we can do it. And it's not the same as coming.
No.
Because you're not going to get the hands-on experience.
But it's the next best thing.
It's yeah, and these are like way more deep dive. We're going to show every single step, every excruciating moment.
And yeah, there's going to be while glue is drying, you're just going to have to sit here and listen to us do other stuff. So the everyone who's watching this live had I sent a code to so they could watch this, but this is not opened up to just anybody. Floating around in YouTube land.
Yeah.
So, but because this video is the first one, it's the inaugural one, this is going to be free. So this is going to go on our website, and then every subsequent video will be a subscription-based thing. So for $21, you can see a month of these, which is every Sunday at 2 for up to 2 hours. Or for $50, you can get the first 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you actually go to the website right now, there's a little link in the description below that will take you to the website. You can actually subscribe to this service right now on the website. PayPal, click here, shit like that. We're going to touch on this a bunch as we go throughout the day, but this is going to be kind of a high-speed, low-drag thing. There's not going to be a bunch of beer chugging and goofing around like that. There will be time for that in the live stream, so enough of the bullshit talk. Let's jump right in. One more thing that's not really bullshit talk. This is driven by you guys, so you can ask us to change the camera angle. You can get your questions asked. You can, you pretty much drive the content of these live streams. Now, for the first one, we had to come up with something, but all the subsequent ones are going to be you guys get to pick. So we haven't quite figured out how we're going to do that yet, but that's the name of the game here. So bear with us. We're still working through a lot of this stuff. And the shop is still a complete disaster area because of all the construction that's been going on. So let's jump right in.
And I'll be filming, and I'll be asking questions, and hopefully kind of helping along with that.
Yeah. So thanks to everybody who's watching. This isn't one of those things where I get to go, Mr. Music, please, and thank you, and tell you happy birthday and everything. But let's just jump right in.
Yeah, let's try and keep all the comments to the task at hand.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Is there one?
Could we do like questions for Matt in all caps, so that way when we're reading through the comments? People will. Yeah. We're just gonna go with this, and we'll see what happens.
So the very first thing that we're gonna do today, you guys, is we are going to work on, for lack of a better term, a thin line Telecaster. Only we're calling it our daily driver because we can't use Telecaster. We probably can't use thin line, but you get the point. We're going to make a hollow body daily driver Fullerton single cut right before your very eyes. Now, when we first started doing these, they were because we were making those acoustic style guitars, and so I was looking at the way that it lined up, and I drew it out. And I drew a Strat shape and I drew a Tele shape, all on the same center line, going off the end of the neck heel right here. Can you guys see that in the picture? And I drew it out, and then I started to go, well, you know what? We can just sort of average this out so that our template that we're going to make will work with both the Strat and the Tele. So two templates in one, which is very cool. So that's the picture that we made to test the theory. Here is the template that I made many, many weeks ago using the exact same setup. This is just regular 3/4 inch MDF, and I drew the outline of the Strat and the outline of the Tele, and I made sure that the center lines matched and I indexed off the front edge of the heel here. And then I just sort of traced it all out. I cut this out with a jigsaw and smoothened it with my my orbital sander, or not my orbital sander, my oscillating spindle sander. I also made this piece, which fits in the middle, which will be very handy for, as we go through the video, you'll see. And then I made this piece to go, this is gonna be our bridge block. So making templates is one of those things that comes up a lot, and we usually have a lot of questions about how we make our templates or where we get our templates. And in this case, we had to make the template. And it worked out actually really, really well. But it's not a high-speed, low-drag process. You don't need to have a laser to do it. You can do this with some really, really simple tools. So I also have a standard daily driver outline template that I drug along for fun. We might use that today, I'm not sure. I've got one of the 3-piece body blanks that we get from Dan at Guitar Wood Experts. This is Swamp Ash, and this is kind of a heavy one. It's 10.81 pounds. As soon as we get a bunch of weight relieving and hollowing done, we will weigh it again and see how much we eliminated from the body blank. And we are going to be putting a top on this. And I sent a thing on Instagram out many, many days ago. Let me turn this around so people can see. Asking what kind of wood this was. This is actually, it looks a lot like ash, does it not? But this is actually hackberry. And when we were in the lumber yard, I'm like, man, that looks just about like ash, and they're practically giving it away. And Chris said, what is it? And I said, it's hackberry. And he said,
Hackberry.
yeah. So we're going to use this for our top. Now, there's lots of ways to do what we're going to do. And throughout the course of this project, we're going to tell you all the different ways that you could do it. We're going to be using tools that you may have. We're going to be using some tools that you may not have. But one thing that is sort of the goal of this process is to, even if we're using tools you don't have, give you some alternatives to maybe make some jigs and fixtures that you guys can use to do this exact process at home, even if you don't have a beloved pin router. So, any questions so far?
Just asking about if you needed to have a beloved pin router.
Well, you don't have to have a beloved pin router, but it will certainly help. Now, like I say, one of the things that we're going to try to do with these online classes is kind of give you guys a heads up of how to make some tools that are easy to get, that you can even get at Home Depot, and make the same stuff using easy to come by tools. So anyway, so the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to cut out this hollowed section of the body, and we're going to use a drill press, we're going to use the pin router, and we're also going to use a regular router just to kind of show you guys how you could go about doing some of that stuff. So the very first thing that we need is something that I don't have, and that is a straight edge ruler. Ian is going to run and grab it for me. I tried to get everything set up before we started the class, but of course I missed a couple of things. There should be one hanging up there, Ian. I do have a pencil, so that's good. Okay, Ian's on the case. So the first thing that we are going to do is, like I said, we're going to establish a center line. Everyone who's ever taken a class from me knows that the very, very first thing I have everybody do is draw their center line on the blank that they're going to use. And we're going to refer to it a lot, so it's a very important step. On these 3-piece blanks, what I generally recommend you do is measure the thickness of the middle section and then bisect that. So this guy is 4 3/4. So what's half of that?
2 3/8.
2 3/8. Thank you. All right, and so we'll measure 2 3/8 from this thing here. And then we will draw our center line, and that will just sort of be our center line from now on. Okay, so my template, as you guys can see, also has a center line. I don't know if they can see that in the thing. So see how the center line goes? It goes all the way across the template, and it actually goes down the side, so that when I'm when I'm matching up my template with the line that I just drew on my blank, everything goes exactly perfectly right. Sound good? And I like to index, for this particular job, I like to index off this front edge here off my blank. So we'll just go ahead and get that guy all sorted out. And we're going to use some screws to attach the template to the blank. And I have them, but I hid them with my, no I didn't. What the hell did I do with them?
These screws?
No, I just had a drill and some screws. All right.
Oh, I stole them.
Dave!
Sorry.
Okay, so sometimes, you know, when you're live, this sort of thing can happen. So, oh, you so funny.
Sorry. I
Oh,
was
you
using the
funny
same
guy.
drill.
Where's the screws?
We'll have to find you new ones.
Okay, we'll get some new ones. So, guys, remember this is a live class, and everything is sort of.
You got some?
I got them. Thank you, sir. So it's a live class, and we are without a net, basically, not ready for prime time, etc., etc. One thing that is a handy way to go if you're screwing to a template is to actually attach with clamps your template to the piece so it doesn't wiggle around on you. Whoa, that's not going to work. All right, you guys see what happened there? This particular screw actually goes all the way through. I clearly need to use this one here. Again, we're working without a net, people. All right. Okay, so our template is attached to our body, and we are good to go. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to, whoa, actually, wait, shit, I almost forgot. We're not making a left-handed guitar. This is going to be the surface that the pin rides on so that it cuts on this surface of the blank. Okay? So what I need to do, though, is I want to make sure that this block stays in the piece. And the reason I want this block to stay in the blank is because this is where my bridge is going to attach. So what I need to do is I need to double stick tape this to the blank. Will someone grab some double-sided stick tape? Look at Ian is on the case. Thank you. How about a razor blade, Ian?
Couldn't find one.
Okay. Let me see. I got my pocket knife here. All right. I tell you guys, this 3M tape that we're using is pretty neat stuff. Thank you, love. Okay. So I'm just going to press this guy down to my block, to my blank. And then I'm going to flip it upside down, and the middle section should come right out. And now this is my template for the hollowed out area. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions so far? We're solid?
I think the next step will shock and amaze people.
You think?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're asking, yeah.
They're asking what in the hell is happening next?
Yeah. When are you going to hog out the other side?
Okay. We're going to hog out the other side right now. And for that, we're going to go to my beloved pin router. Now, if you don't have a beloved pin router, I'm going to show you some ways that you can do this without said tool. But just for, we would be here all day if I was doing it without the beloved pin router. So we're going to go to the beloved pin router. We're going to use some other tools, and it's going to be super fun. Ready? Let's do it. Chris is going to take you on a tour of the shop, kind of, as we go, too.
Plug in my other device. Plug that in for me. Thanks. Hey, there's Sparky D. Sparky D's in the house.
Okay, I'm willing to bet that everybody who's watching has a working knowledge of how my beloved pin router works. But just in case people don't, this is the pin router, and it's an overarm router. The reason they call it a pin router is because of this pin right here, which shares two things with the cutting tool. One thing is the center, and the other is the diameter of the cutter. So we have a 1/2 inch cutter in here and a 1/2 inch pin. They share the same center line, so when I put this guitar template and body blank over my pin, it restricts the movement of the cutting tool. Okay? So let's get this bad dude fired up. And I'm actually going to wear a mask, which I rarely do in the actual videos because, well, just sometimes it sucks. So
This is a lot of material.
this is a lot of meat. Okay. Ready, Chris? Wah, wah. It's going, it's just not. Okay, guys, you see what's happening here? What I've done is I've just made a very slight pass, quick pass through my my body blank for where the inside of that hollowed out area is going to be, and this is where my bridge block. Well, it's not where it's going to be; it's where it is. Because what I want to do now is I want to go over to my drill press and I want to hog a bunch of this material out with a Forstner bit. And the reason why is because the drill press turns wood into powder and the Forstner bit turns wood into chips. Chips are much harder to breathe in and much easier to sweep up. So let's go over to the drill press now. So Ian and I actually already set this for the right depth, but I'm going to check it just to make sure. So I can go ahead and bottom out my drill, and that's as deep as it's going to go with the way it's set up, which is probably just about right. And then we'll go ahead and take the rest off with the pin router here in a little bit. So what we're going to do now is, because we have this line that I already made with the pin router, so I know what it's going to cut, I can go everywhere else with my Forstner bit and, like I said, turn stuff into little chips rather than powder. All right, here we go. Hey, Ian, grab that garbage can and put it right here so I can brush chips into it, would you? Will you heat up the pin router? Oh. Huh? Oh, okay.
This is where I earn my keep.
Woo! I think my Forstner bit might be getting dull.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
Some pros do it.
I saw him. This is probably where someone says the real Telecaster thin line isn't all the way hollow. And to that I say, well, ours is.
Because Fender didn't do it right, doesn't mean we're not gonna do it
That's
right.
right.
Sorry.
So what's going to happen is it's going to try to shove that bit away from the cut. So I'm sort of tugging the piece into the cutter. Oh shit! Live TV.
Just like that.
Remember what I said about how the bit wants to get. Remember what I said about how the bit wants to come away from the. Woo! I bet you that. Yeah, that's wrecked.
Yeah.
All right, so you see what happened there? Let's go ahead and get another bit, another Forstner bit. Making guitars is fun, y'all.
Tom, it actually almost always looks like two monkeys.
Yeah. So what happened was it grabbed my bit and it slung it into the side there, and so yeah, safety first, right? Okay. I'm not gonna throw this away because it's stupid hot, and I got a bunch of wood chips in my garbage can. Okay. Woo! Now I hope no one thinks that sort of thing never ever happens to us, because it happens all the time. I just never show it in a regular video. So, using tools is wrought with danger, and that's kind of one of the sexy things about it. Just ask my old lady. Right, babe?
Yeah.
What was the first thing you did as soon as it went bad?
What's the first? Yeah, I pulled my hands away from it, made sure I had all my fingers. No, I don't really care if I wreck this hunk of wood just yet. So I want to make sure everything is okay. So we want to pull our hands away from the piece. Don't try to save it. Power it down. If you need to fail quickly and move forward. So in this case, no harm, no foul. But sometimes that happens and it gets a little sporty. You think it's bad on the drill press? Wait till you see it on the shaper. All right, let's go back over to the pin router and do a little more work over there. Okay. So the majority of the material is already removed. Does anyone have any questions about what we did so far? Anybody? No? Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue down this path here.
Oh, they wanted
And
to know how deep it was, potentially.
It looks like about an inch. I went ahead and so if we can see here in the we went down to where we had about a 1/2 or 5/8 of an inch of material on the back. And the reason I didn't want to go any deeper than that is because once I finish up pin routing, I want these holes that are left by the Forstner bit in the center to disappear. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How thick is this blank?
The blank is 1 7/8, and the hole that we just drilled is just under 1 1/4. So 1 3/16, just about.
What are you going for as far as?
Well, we're going to be putting a 1/4 inch top on this, and we want the whole thing to be 1 5/8 or 1 3/4 when it's all said and done. So we're going to be removing material from the top and the back before we glue the top on and after we glue the top on.
Got it.
So if you guys don't have the ability to thickness stuff at your house, when you order your blank from Dan, tell him how thick you want the blank to be. So if you're going to be gluing a top to it, tell him you want it a little bit thinner, or if you're not going to be gluing a top to it and you want it to be 1 3/4, let him know. We're going to get into why we're doing it like this and alternatives to doing it like this. So if you don't have a pin router or a drill press, a couple of different ways you could do it. But that's coming up in a little while. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to deepen the pin router around the slot that we use the pin router for around the edge. Let's do it. Somebody just walked. Oh, where's me mask?
Oh, I think you know.
Up me bum. Thank you. See what I mean about the pin router leaving different size chunks than the Forstner bit on the drill press? So one thing I want to do now is talk to you guys a little bit about hold on, let's get some of this. I wonder if you can get this in the camera, Chris. There's a tiny bit of run out in my pin, and you can kind of see here where I had the piece oriented slightly differently than I did for the very first pass, and it cut just a little bit differently. So that can happen when the pin is not exactly perfectly centered up with the cutter, but yeah, so just something to think about. I think this is also a good time to talk about alternate ways of making this cut with a regular handheld router. Let me grab a regular handheld router. So let's pretend that this edge that I just cut on my pin router was actually my template. Does that make sense, guys? And if you had a regular router with a bearing bit, the bearing on top and a cutter on the bottom, in a plunge capacity, you could actually make a cut. In fact, we could just do one. Let's just do one.
Look at that outlet.
Get a load of
Good
that.
thing we put that there.
It actually... Yikes! There's going to be a bunch of live TV moments in this.
Good thing it wasn't hot.
I know.
Land on your neck.
So if this contour here was the same contour as your template and was attached to the top, like most templates that guys work with are, you could use a regular plunge router with a bearing bit, and you could basically do exactly the same thing. What?
That blows way more stuff all over
Yeah.
everything.
So you can see that would actually work just as well, only quite a bit slower than my beloved pin router. Now, at some point, you're going to have to fall into the abyss here. We're going to talk a little bit about ways that you can make like an extension base for your router, so you can go over this whole shooting match here. But a regular router will do this, guys. You just have to be a little more creative, just like we had to be many years ago before we got the pin router. So just for the sake of brevity, let's go ahead and finish this guy up with the pin router. Does that work for you? the guy?
Yeah, both left.
Oh, okay. Starting to get into where I'm needing to take more where I need to take more material out than just around the edge. I'm starting to get to where I have to go all the way down. Okay. Everybody with me still so far?
Hold on, we might have to do some screen maintenance.
Uh-oh. Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody?
No.
Okay. Did we save? Is everyone still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So guys, again, I don't really know how this is going to work. I just want to make sure that we haven't totally bored everybody yet. We're getting really, really close to having our the inside of our hollowed out cavity be done. Remember, I was saying we wanted these Forstner bit holes to disappear. I'm going to go ahead and take this down to a uniform depth. If I'm putting a 1/4 inch or so top on this, and I want the overall thickness to be 1 5/8, I probably need to have, I'm going to go down to 1 3/8, and then that'll give me a very, very slim top and a very, very slim back, and that will be cool. Sound good? Everybody? Anybody? Bueller?
Yep, sounds great, Matt.
I tell you, this mask fogs up my glasses, so that's I'm gonna burn through it the rest of the way without it. And we might not come down to exactly 1 3/8. We'll see. Mostly I just want those holes to disappear. And they are. What happened?
Doug wondered if he had time to get another beer.
Yeah. If Tammy will let him.
Yeah.
That's kind of a harsh toke, wasn't it? That wasn't very cool to say. Sorry, Doug. We got it.
Somebody said you could punish bad employees. I think it was Tom. Punish bad employees by putting the 1/8 cutter on.
Yeah, and have
Do that. Take 3 hours. I'm the only employee.
You're not an employee.
I'm the only one that gets to do stuff like this. In an official capacity. Up and running.
Let's see how deep it is. just over 1 1/4, which I think is plenty deep enough, because I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna get the back is gonna be whatever thickness it is, and the top is gonna be whatever thickness it is. So I think that's more than good enough. What do you think, Chris?
I think so. It's what now? 1 1/4.
Just a little deeper than 1 1/4. So we'll
So
probably
if you added a 1/4 inch top and a 1/4 inch back, you'd have a 1 3/4 inch.
yeah. What we'll
blank,
probably
but
end up
it'll be a
doing
little
is
bit thinner than that.
yeah, we're probably gonna end up taking some off the top of this before we glue the top on.
Yep.
And yeah, so.
Well, it's not getting a back, but it has a back that'll be about a 1/4.
It will be, yeah, it will be a back. Now, that's a good question, though. You could do this whole thing with a saw and attach a back to it, and you wouldn't have to go through this whole pin router fiasco. But we'll get to that. I'll show you guys and we'll talk more about doing that in the future. So let's pull this template off and kind of mark everything out on the top so you guys can get an idea of what the next step is going to be. Sound good?
Any reason to go deep and get rid of the Forstner bit tip holes other than sheer craftsmanship?
Yeah, I just think it looks cool. I mean, the fact of the matter is you could probably just hog a bunch of this weight out with just the Forstner bit and no pin router. I mean, really. The top is going to cover all that stuff up anyway. I just like it because it makes me feel good about myself.
Because you know it's there.
Because I'll know it's there. Okay, so let's go back over to the table where we were originally and pull this thing off and kind of show you guys what we're going to do next. I don't know why. See, I'm talking like it's a regular video, but it's actually live. The whole damn thing
Then Chris trips.
is totally live. Oh, good thing I wore a black shirt today. All right. So we're going to pull. I said we're going to pull this. Let's start with the screws. How about that? This 3M double stick tape is pretty good, you guys. Good God. There we go. Okay. That sucker wasn't going anywhere. Okay, Chris has brought me the scale. Ugh. And our body blank that used to weigh 1081 now weighs in at a svelte. What does it weigh?
7.9.
So we took off almost 3 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool, you guys. Okay. So the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to run this section through the thickness sander and prep to glue on the top. But I don't know if anybody noticed that I did this. I actually drew some lines where the template ends. And I'm going to transfer everything on from the back, down the sides, and onto the front so I can make sure I'm laying out everything correctly. Sound like a plan? All I need is, I need this. Does anyone know where a square is? Ian's on the case. Oh, my beautiful wife found it. Thank you, Chris. In some ways, I'm kind of glad that this is, like, we're having to look for stuff, because this would be a really, really, really short video if we just knew where everything was.
And it would be so nice.
And yeah, and everything just went perfectly right. Okay. So I'm going to extend my center lines down the edge here. Now, there is a trick to why I am doing it the way I'm doing it. You know why I'm doing it on this piece of MDF, everybody? Because the MDF is flat. This table may or may not be. So, now we'll just put a little mark on the sides and connect our center line from the back that we drew onto the sides onto what is now our top. Okay, so this is now the top. Let's refer to our drawing here from the end of the hollow portion. Man, I don't have any meat here. To the end of the neck heel is 3 1/2 inches. So see what I'm measuring here, you guys? From here to here, 3 1/2. So now I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to lay it out on my blank. 3 1/2. And then, because I have a center line, I'm going to line it up on the top and make sure my center lines are all lined up properly. And then trace around.
Cameraman's getting all wobbly.
So it will look a little like that. Ta-da. Okay. So, it's as simple as that. Anybody have any questions before we proceed?
Tom L says it's all coming together now. He was wondering how you were going to get that.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, so like I said, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this guy through my thickness sander just to make sure that everything's parallel. I could have done that before we started, but the fact of the matter is usually all the stuff that we get from Dan is so awesome that I don't have to sweat it. But I'm
doing that, Matt?
why am I putting pencil line on here? Because when I run it through the thickness sander, I want to see everywhere where the sander is actually sanding. Those will be, in fact, witness marks. Now, one of the things that the astute viewer will notice is that as I sand all this stuff off, my center lines will go away, except for the ones on the edge. So let's boogie over to the thickness sander and just kind of clean this guy up a little bit, and then we'll talk about gluing on the top. Sound good? Ian, will you catch the...
Yeah.
You guys can see it's taking more off the center than it is off the edge. And we want to get rid of that dip. You can really see that run out patch right there. we're gonna make that go away too. Like we pretty much got it all from the front. One more pass on the back.
Show them how to measure the depth now when you do this nice gas.
Okay. Measure the depth of the hollow patch. Okay. Get it? Okay, cool. So, as Chris was pointing out, because we took material off the top here, we changed the actual depth of the cut that we made. Not by much, just by a little bit. So if we have our calipers set here, let me do it this way so you guys can see. We have our calipers a little bit proud, and we can press down and see. And then we go over to the side here, and we can see how thick what will be our back actually is. Now that's going to be taken down to probably right about there. We're going to take all of that meat off, but I want to wait to do that a little later, and it will all become clear why we do that as we go. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and reestablish my center lines on here so that you guys can see what is going on.
There was lots of tool envy. Let's show them the inside of the
Okay.
cylinder real quick.
Yeah.
Because it's only a single drum. It's got 2 drive wheels.
So this Power Max or Super Max, Performax, whatever it is, drum sander is absolutely invaluable to the way that we make guitars. It's just one great big sanding drum that this actually removes the material, and this this belt here helps ease everything through. The drive wheel stays in place, and the table moves up and down to come up to meet the drive or the sanding drum. You'll notice that this one it's closed on both ends. We've worked with the kind of clamshell open on one end thing, and they work really. How about this? The one that we had was okay, and it would do a pretty decent job. But the nice thing about this is I don't have to worry about whether or not it's the open side is opening more than the hinge side, which is what it would be on those other tools. If you've got one of those, they're excellent tools. I think we had like a Ryobi one or something, and it was okay. I think if you get a Jet version, they're probably considerably better, but I don't know. Your mileage may vary. So yeah, this tool though is, when I was at Roberto Venn, we used thickness sanders, nowhere near as nice as this, for every single thing that we did for all thicknessing was used. We sanded it. We abraded the thickness. We didn't cut. This rigid planer here can actually be used. It's got cutting teeth. It's got it's got a helical drum cutter with carbide tips that are replaceable and rotatable. And this guy works really. Oh, there's our security system talking to you. Okay. So this guy will remove material considerably faster than the thickness sander, but has the disadvantage of only being 13 inches of actual cutting surface. Fortunately, once we get the Telecaster shape cut out, fortunately, once we get the Daily Driver shape cut out, it'll go through this guy and we can trim down the back nice and fast, run it through the thickness sander to remove any tool marks and be solid as a rock. Again, you don't have to have this stuff to do what we're doing. It's just neat to have, and I thought I would show you guys how we do everything. So, okay? Any other questions before we move forward? Okay. All right, let's go put our center lines back on this thing. I should probably blow my nose, too.
That'll be fun for everybody to watch.
That's always lots of laughs. Okay. All right. Okay. I know, right? This is usually where we have like musical thing, or I just skip over this part.
You asking me to sing?
No, I'm not.
Okay, good.
All right, so we're gonna measure our 3.5 from the edge of the hollowed out portion. I'm gonna put my template back in place and line it up with the lines. Okay. Okay. So, looking good, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about the top. Well, are there any questions? I'm kind of getting frazzled. We might need to slow down so I can catch up a little bit here, huh?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it's
I'm like blowing through this.
Yeah,
so
I can
yeah.
tell. Yeah. Well, and this is there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that was a lot of Forstner bit. That was a lot of pin routers.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for people to ask questions.
I think everybody's pretty good right now.
Is everybody caught up? How many people are still watching?
11.
Okay, so how many did we start with?
10.
Okay, cool. So we haven't lost anybody, or maybe we lost
We
people.
went 12 and now we're down to
Okay, well, it's got to be. This is kind of a boring thing. They're probably like, I'm gonna speed up through some of this, and that's
Tom
one
says
of
it's
the.
great. I'm loving it. So okay.
I think this is one of the things about this that is neat to have in video format, because you can step away from it and you can watch it in speed up motion. You can slow it down. You can go back. You can go forward. You can do whatever you want. If you're watching it live, it's neat because you can actually ask questions during the live thing. But you know what I'm saying. So what's that? What?
Doug says beer and Cheetos makes it better. Lane Guitar says not boring at all.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay,
I'd say
cool.
don't sweat it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like baseball.
Baseball.
When it's gonna get good, I'll tell you.
Okay, so let's see, guys. We have our hollowed out portion. That's I probably am assuming a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our hollowed out portion. We have our bridge block portion, and everything is nice and flat and smooth, and it's actually ready to receive said top. But what's going to happen is, as soon as I glue my top down, I'm going to lose all of my reference points. I'm going to lose some of my reference points, aren't I? I'm probably going to lose all the top here. I'm probably going to lose, I'll have my center line here. So let's just go ahead and make a couple of, actually we need to have a center line on the top, right? Let's go ahead and lay that guy out. Oh, you know why I didn't draw the center line on this is because it's a two-piece. And our glue line is effectively our center line. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to take my calipers and I'm going to measure from some of the known places on the drawing to the known places at the edge of the actual wood. So here I'm going to do this, and I don't know if you can see this here, but I'm measuring from the edge of the board to the edge of my line. And then I'm going to put that same mark over here. So I know that if I line my center line up, actually it goes to this guy here, so. Okay, so if I line my center line up, and I line up my board with that line that I just made, whoa, and then my center line's way over here, then the line that's on the top should come very, very, very close to matching the line on the body blank. Does that make sense to everybody? Because Because what's going to happen is I really need to know where this is. Then I can measure 3.5 inches back from my heel. And I can actually put my template that my piece is resting on. And draw it out. Okay, so it should look a little like that.
Just a good way to double check all your stuff.
Yeah, it's just kind of, making sure everything's lining up. Again, having a reference line is really handy. So that should be really, really good. Now what we're going to use to glue the top on is our vacuum press. The reason we're going to use our vacuum press is it's really fast and it's really handy. But you could use exactly the same technique I'm about to use with clamps. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put some screws in, like right here, and maybe another one right here, to kind of index everything. I'm going to put the whole thing into my vacuum press and squeeze it all down, and it's going to form a vacuum. It's going to suck my top down to my sides and back one piece. In other videos we've done, we've actually used screws to clamp the whole thing down. So if you guys have watched those, you can put smear glue on everything, and you can run screws with your screw gun all the way around and lock everything in place. That's pretty neat, because then your piece doesn't weigh 100 pounds with 10 pounds of body and 90 pounds of clamps. And it works great. It's also a lot cheaper than buying a bunch of clamps. You can buy a box of screws and just screw it down and be done. The more I think about it, Chris, the more I think maybe we should do that with screws, just to show everybody. What do you think?
Sure.
Or do you want to use the vacuum press because it's fun too?
Billy B and Blue says he just got a vacuum set up.
All right. Well, what do you
but-
guys think? This is the portion of the class where we can use tools you may or may not have, or we can use tools that are easily sourced at Home Depot. How would you guys like to see it?
Why couldn't you use the screw template in the vacuum?
Well, I think if you put screws in all the way around and then put it in the vacuum, it would sort of be like just a lot of extra work. One would do
But I'm
just
saying, why
fine.
can't, I mean, so what's the point of using the vacuum then? So you don't have to put screws in?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, show them it's gonna dry the same time.
Mrs. Toast says
So we got 2 for vacuum.
Yeah, we got more for vacuum.
All right, well, let's go with vacuum because that's what the votes are. So
That's what the populace wants.
that's what you guys want. So what we're going to do first is we're going to drill some holes for our what?
Somebody says I got a screwdriver.
Yeah, screwdriver.
I know how a
I know
screwdriver works.
I know how a screw works.
That's
Yeah,
true. Okay.
yeah.
All right, so we are going to again get everything lined up on our witness marks here. And I'm shimmy shaking everything all over Hell's Half Acre. That looks pretty decent. And then I'm going to clamp it, Jed. Okay. What I need, I can use this. And I need some shorter screws. Fortunately, I have a giant box of them over here.
What size screw do you use?
These are number 6 1-inch drywall screws. Okay, so I'm going to countersink my screws with this countersink bit right here. And then just screw it down. Now, if you guys are going to use the technique of using screws as clamps, you would basically just do this all the way around. And we have had a lot of success with that technique. Okay, so we're going to check everything and make sure we're still looking good, and we are. So now we're going to pull the top back off because we got to get glue under there. Oh, one thing that let's talk about. The first time that we did this with the vacuum press, we actually sucked the top down too much, and everything went. The top actually sucked into the cavity. So we're gonna put some clamping calls on here to keep everything from crushing the top. Now that top was 1/8 inch cedar. I think this stuff is probably stronger, but just that's something to keep in mind. So, what are y'all looking for?
Glue for you.
Oh, it's right back here.
Okay.
Hey, we've rearranged everything in the shop, and actually, I lost my drill press the other day. How do you do that? You just do. Okay. Chris has our vacuum rig out. We're going to move some stuff out the way. What time are we working on here? 3:27. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right. Okay. For this, we're gonna be using regular standard issue titebond original. We're not gonna be using titebond 2 because it's not going to be stored outside. Remember, titebond 2 is not the sequel to titebond. It's just a different formula made for different applications. So a lot of people ask me, why don't you use titebond 2? I found titebond 3 is really cheap at my hardware store. You can certainly use all that stuff, but the original is the stuff that if I only had one glue that I could use for everything, it would be this. Even for, how about this? If I could only have one glue for building guitars, it would be this. Even super glue, I think, is a distant second to how often we use titebond. Okay? So we are going to, where are our extra pieces for vacuum press calls? Do you know, Chris?
What were we using?
There was two sections of MDF that were probably 7-inch by 21-inch, floating around somewhere, maybe over there in that neighborhood. It might not be worth it. No, they were longer than that. We might not need to do it with this. You know what? Let's just let's try it without it and see what happens. And that way, again, it's live TV. If it sucks, if it puts way too much pressure on this, then so be it, right?
Okay.
Or actually, we can use our template. We can put our template right on top.
Yeah, let's do that.
And use that. Okay. So we only need to put glue where the wood is going to matter in terms of being glued to the back, right? So we don't need to make sure we have a bunch of glue here. We just need to make sure we have glue all inside of this and on this neck block here. Okay. I have some silicone squeegee dealy brushes that are going to be totally rad. Ugh. Hey, Ian, will you grab me a paper towel? There's a bunch of mung on these, glue pooty. Oh, thank you, sir. Okay. So again, we just want to make sure we get glue where it needs to be. There's such a thing as too much glue in this application because we don't want to have it, we spent so much time getting this to be nice. You know what I mean? We don't want to have a bunch of crud in there, right?
Lane Guitars wants to know if you're going to write a little message inside.
We could write a little message inside.
Right, fart.
Who wants to know?
Lane Guitars.
Lane? So I wrote, "Hi Lane, fart, Matt." Lane, I hope you're a good sport about that. I write fart on lots of things, lots of times. So everybody asked me, or that's why everybody said, "Are you going to write fart?" Who's here in the shop, because I'm always writing fart on their things.
We have a genuine question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Oh, wait. H.L. Mercer,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't the bridge block keep it from sucking in?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? That's what we thought on our first one. And what happened was it put big cracks.
Actually cracked it right around the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a super thin.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
cedar
it was an 1/8 inch cedar top, and so it was
top.
very
Roasted
strong
too,
in
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think that looks pretty good. And now see how that one just sunk right into place? And that one too. Again, guys, if you're using screws to screw everything down and clamp it while the glue sets up, that technique actually works really, really well. All right, but today we're going to use the vacuum press. And how you do it is we're just going to go ahead and put this guy in place, and that's going to press everything down. If you were just gluing a top to a solid piece on the back, you wouldn't need to do this. And because we're not gluing 1/8 inch cedar to the top, you may not need to do this either, but we're just hedging our bets. You know what I'm saying? So this mesh that I just put in there helps keep the vacuum away from sucking down on this, in this case, this MDF surface. I don't like this either. I think what's going to happen is my bag's going to get poked through right there. So we're going to put this piece of flip-flop there. Okay? So this is the thing that keeps all of the vacuum from rushing out of the bag, sort of like a Ziploc bag. Are we plugged in?
Yep.
Dang. Chris is on the case, or whoever did this is on the case. So what's going to happen is all the air is getting drawn out of the bag, and it's going to force everything down. And it's going to put a buttload of pressure on everything.
What size bag is that?
It's a 2x2. Okay, so you can see right here, I don't know if you can, there's actually glue squeezing out right there, and there's something weird about the vacuum that it's actually kind of making bubbles in the glue all the way around. It's kind of a funny thing that it does. And we probably got glue squeeze out on this end, and we do. I don't know if you can see that. And as you can see, my piece of flip-flop worked swimmingly.
Yeah, Tom, those do work. That's what we started with.
What's that?
It's an AC type.
An AC type pump? Yeah.
This one's a little better.
Yeah, this is designed to run continuously. So.
Yeah. I think my AC vacuum pump was the cheapest one I could buy, and it would turn off after about 15 minutes. It would overheat.
How much what, babe? I don't remember because I had originally bought this bag from Veneer Supplies, and I bought this pump from a different company. The reason I didn't buy everything from Veneer Supplies is because they wouldn't ship to me. I bought this bag while they were still shipping to Colorado, and I wanted to buy a new pump as soon as the AC pump that Chris got off eBay kind of stopped working. And at the time, Veneer Supplies said, I'm not shipping to Colorado for tax reasons. It was tricky for him to do. So this came from another company. I made a video about this setup and where I got everything from. I will, it's coming loose. I'll look all that information up and get back to you with the exact figures in the next video that's coming 1 week from now, which you'll have to sign up to see if that works for you guys. Ian, will you grab me the coolest F-hole template of all time? So, I think this is probably a great place to wrap it up, have a little Q&A, that sort of thing. But I do want to show you guys the coolest F-hole that's ever been seen on a daily driver thin line, and that is the Mud Flap Girl F-hole going on this guy. I think it's going to be really, really cool. You think we're going to be able to see that thing where I wrote fart? Probably not. So, okay, let's go ahead and wrap this one up with a little bit of question and answer. Does anyone have any questions for me on what we did in the video? Anything?
We're on a lag.
Yeah, give it a second.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so yeah, I'm waiting for a little bit of lag time here. I'll go ahead and start by saying, guys, thank you to everyone who requested the code for this live stream, and I thank everybody for joining me for the live stream. This particular one will actually go out as a public video, but I wanted to keep everything. I wanted to have the fewest people that I could, people who are really, really genuinely interested in the video, watching and kind of chiming in, because you guys wanted to see it the most. You actually took a second to send me an email, and so you got the code, and et cetera, et cetera. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Tom Al wants to know, does the bag have a valve or anything, or does the pump have to stay running?
The pump, the bag does have a valve, but I found that it's just easier to just leave everything running, because it doesn't have to stay running for very long, and it's just easier that way. So,
How long will it sit in this vacuum bag?
it'll sit in this setup for 30 minutes, and then it'll be time to go ahead and pull it, the vacuum bag away. And if I was a faster pin router, we could actually do that on live TV.
Does the vacuum bag dry any faster than just air drying?
I don't think so, but it might. Remember I was showing you guys how it kind of turns the glue that isn't directly under the piece, it kind of turns it into like this almost fluffy, bubbly stuff. It might leach a bunch of oxygen out of the water in the glue or something. I don't know why it does that. Oh, if you're putting just a very, very thin veneer on the on a solid body and not a 1/4 inch top, you do not want to use titebond. You want to actually use cold press veneer glue. That's pretty much the hot setup for that, because what will happen is the vacuum will suck the glue through the veneer top. So, anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not really a question. It's just a statement. Wood glue is designed to dry under pressure, so it probably helps to have such even, strong pressure.
Okay. All right. Makes sense to me. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to give you another quick heads up. Thank you again for everybody who requested the code. This is the first video that we're doing in this live online training session. Thank you to everyone who sat with us the whole time. It's that kind of support that really goes a long way to helping us make this worthwhile. If you want to subscribe to more of these videos, like I say, this is the first one and it's free. All the other ones require a subscription. If you want to subscribe to the first month, it's $21. If you want to subscribe to the first 3 months, it's $50. We're guaranteeing you 3 months of this online training, up to 2 hours every week, and you guys kind of steer the train a little bit, or a lot of it. We'll do what you guys want to see. So I think that's a pretty neat deal. Go to the website, TexasToastGuitars.com, and under the classes section, there is a drop-down thing that says online training. Click on that, and you can subscribe right there. There's a PayPal link. It's easy as all get out to do. And so it's super cool and fun, and you can support online training. We hope that this is something that you guys really enjoy and that we get a lot more interest in as we go. The other cool thing is, once you have the code, you can watch the videos as many times as you want. You can watch the videos 5 years from now, and you can do whatever you want with the information, or you can, or if you don't want to subscribe right away, but you want to subscribe next month, you can get all the other stuff. It's a whole big thing, and it's really cool. I'm actually very, very excited about this. And Chris and I came up with this idea. It was 3 weeks ago, almost to the day. And I'm really happy that we figured out a way to do it. It's, we're still kind of learning, but I think it's going to be really fun.
Will they all be on Sunday?
They will all be on Sunday at 2 o'clock. But you don't have to watch it live. You can tune in. The other thing is, if anyone's not watching this live and you want to leave a question in the comment section below, I will answer those questions very, very first thing next Sunday at 2 o'clock before we get rolling. Try to keep some of that stuff to a minimum because I could spend all day just answering questions from last week, or we could just jump right in. If you guys think that this is cool but you want to come out and take a class from us, that's really the hot setup, and I would urge you to do so. Everyone who comes out to take our classes gets to use my beloved pin router. They can use this vacuum press. They can use the thickness sander. Pretty much any tool except for a few exceptions is on the table. We'll check you out, and everything will be cool. And gosh, we've had so many people come out and do bodybuilding with us. We had Doug Cook, who's watching, came out and made a body with us last Friday. That was really fun. Doug had a good time, I think, and he was a good hand. He knew how to. You could tell Doug had some machine skills. So anyway, guys, we've got a live stream coming up in like an hour. I've got to get my voice back, or I'm gonna be dead. Thanks for watching. Yes.
One question.
Yeah.
How long will this build take approximately? What all are we going to do to this?
I'm going. So that's right. A good question. In the subsequent videos, we're going to cut the body out and route it for a neck, route it for a bridge pickup and a bridge, and route it for the mud flap girl F-hole. And if you guys want to bind it, we can bind it. If you don't want to, we don't have to. We can put a neck on it. We can shape a neck as part of the build. Or if after this is done and it's a body, we can switch gears to something completely different. It's kind of going to depend on whatever you guys want to see. This is all viewer driven. So that's actually really neat because that way I don't have to come up with any ideas. You guys come up with all the ideas and I just show you how I would do it. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Guys, this is Matt at Texas Toast, thanking you once again for tuning into the very first live stream video. If you want to sign up for the subscription, go to www.texastoastguitars.com and under classes, click online training and you can sign up right there. These videos are going to be every Sunday from 2 to, at the very most, 4, probably up to about 2 hours of training every week. You can watch them as many times as you want. So, until next time, this is Matt at Texas Toast, reminding you that if you're so smart, why don't you build it yourself, just like I do. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
And we'll see you at 5.
Yes, just a few minutes.
Yeah, hour 20 minutes, hour 15. See ya.